There are moments in life that arrive so quietly, most people mistake them for ordinary days. And then there are moments like Monday, May 11th. Moments charged with a kind of pressure you can feel in your chest before your mind even understands why. Something is approaching, and deep down you already know it. This is not just another passing transit moving unnoticed through the sky. What unfolds on Monday, May 11th, carries the kind of energetic force that rearranges people from the inside out. It is the type of alignment that wakes up parts of you that have been silent for years, hidden beneath routines, distractions, survival instincts, and the constant noise of everyday life. Most people will move through this day without recognizing what is happening to them. They will suddenly feel emotionally overwhelmed for no obvious reason. They will wake from dreams that feel strangely prophetic and then spend the rest of the day trying to convince themselves it meant nothing. Some will experience powerful waves of intuition that make absolutely no logical sense. Others will notice an eerie feeling that reality itself has become softer around the edges, as if the world is trying to whisper something directly into their spirit. And because modern life trains people to distrust anything they cannot immediately explain, many will ignore these signs completely. But you are not supposed to ignore them. Something in you has already begun responding before this day even arrives. That restless feeling you cannot fully explain. The strange moments of knowing things before they happen. The sense that your inner world has become louder recently. None of that is random. There is a reason this activation is happening now, and there is a reason you were meant to hear this message before the portal fully opens. On this single day, 3 powerful astrological movements converge with almost surgical precision. The moon enters Pisces at 1:40 in the afternoon, opening emotional and psychic channels that have remained dormant beneath the surface of collective consciousness. Pisces is not an ordinary sign. It is the final chapter of the zodiac, the place where boundaries dissolve and intuition replaces logic. When the moon travels through Pisces, people become more porous energetically. Emotions bleed together. Dreams become vivid. Hidden truths rise from the unconscious like messages floating up from deep underwater. But that alone would already be intense enough. Earlier that same morning, Jupiter, the planet associated with expansion, manifestation, opportunity, and spiritual growth, forms a tense and highly significant connection with the North Node, the point tied to destiny and soul evolution. This is not a soft or passive influence. This creates pressure. The kind of pressure that forces people to confront the distance between the life they are living and the life they were actually meant to step into. It creates an uncomfortable awareness that something can no longer remain postponed. Deep down, many people have sensed for months that their current reality is becoming too small for who they are becoming. They have outgrown old versions of themselves emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Yet they continue repeating familiar patterns because comfort feels safer than transformation. But this alignment does not allow comfort to remain untouched. It pushes against stagnation. It exposes avoidance. It creates the sensation that your soul itself is demanding movement. Then, as the day moves toward evening, the Sun in Taurus forms an exact 60-degree angle with Jupiter in Cancer, and this is where everything intensifies. Taurus governs physical reality, stability, manifestation, and tangible outcomes. Cancer governs emotional truth, memory, intuition, and inner security. When these energies harmonize through Jupiter, what has been building invisibly inside the emotional and psychic realm suddenly gains the ability to anchor itself into physical life. This is why Monday, May 11th feels so different. The Pisces moon opens the psychic doorway. Jupiter and the North Node create evolutionary pressure toward destiny. The Taurus Sun forms the bridge that allows internal shifts to begin manifesting externally. This is not random cosmic background noise. This is an initiation point, a threshold, a dividing line between the version of you that existed before this alignment and the version beginning to emerge afterward. And what makes this even more important is that the energy unlocked on May 11th does not disappear once the day ends. It initiates a chain reaction that unfolds over the next 3 weeks. That is the part most people fail to understand. They think manifestation happens in isolated moments, but real energetic shifts unfold in stages. What activates on Monday, May 11th, begins moving through your subconscious immediately, reorganizing beliefs, emotional patterns, desires, instincts, and intuitive awareness beneath the surface before external reality fully catches up. This is why the coming weeks become so critical. The signs will appear subtly at first. Sudden opportunities, strange coincidences, emotional confrontations, unexpected conversations, intuitive pulls you cannot rationalize, dreams that feel more vivid than waking life. The universe will begin communicating through patterns rather than direct explanations. And if you are distracted, emotionally disconnected, or constantly numbing yourself with noise and overstimulation, you may completely overlook one of the most powerful manifestation windows of the entire year. What becomes especially intense under the Pisces moon is the amplification of psychic sensitivity. Most people have been taught to believe intuition is occasional, rare, or unreliable. But Pisces energy does not operate through logic, it operates through frequency. Under this transit, perception itself changes. Suddenly, you begin sensing emotional undercurrents before words are spoken. You think about someone moments before they contact you. You walk into a room and immediately feel tension without anyone saying anything out loud. You notice repeating numbers constantly appearing at exact moments that seem too precise to dismiss. Songs begin carrying messages that feel uncannily personal. Certain dreams refuse to leave your mind because they feel less like imagination and more like memory from the future. This can feel overwhelming if you do not understand what is happening internally. Many people will think they are becoming too emotional or too sensitive during this period, but sensitivity is not weakness under Pisces energy. Sensitivity becomes perception. The veil separating conscious awareness from unconscious information becomes extraordinarily thin. It feels almost as if reality itself starts leaking hidden information directly into your nervous system. This is why emotions may intensify so dramatically around Monday, May 11th. You are not only feeling your own internal world more deeply, you are unconsciously absorbing energetic signals from the people and environments around you. The pineal gland, often associated spiritually with the third eye, becomes highly activated under Pisces and Neptune-influenced transits. This tiny area, connected symbolically to intuition, inner vision, and spiritual perception, begins operating differently. Suddenly, information arrives through feeling instead of analysis. You stop needing external proof before sensing truth internally. And that shift can become life-changing, because once perception expands beyond pure logic, you can never fully return to the smaller version of reality you once accepted. Something is waking up inside you during this alignment, and even if part of you feels uncertain, another part already recognizes the truth. The next 3 weeks are not ordinary. They are the beginning of a much larger unfolding, and what starts opening on Monday, May 11th, is only the first doorway. What makes this Pisces moon so dangerous for people who are emotionally unconscious is that it does not simply influence your mood, it alters the way your entire inner world processes reality. Under this transit, the chemistry connected to sleep, dreaming, intuition, and subconscious perception begins shifting in ways that are impossible to ignore. Your dream state becomes louder, deeper, almost invasive. The line separating waking awareness from the collective unconscious grows so thin that many people will struggle to tell the difference between intuition and imagination. But the truth is, what you are experiencing during this period is not fantasy. It is heightened perception. It may begin subtly. You may walk into a space and instantly feel the residue of an argument that happened hours before you arrived. Someone may smile at you while silently carrying pain, and somehow you already know exactly what they are hiding before they ever speak. You may find yourself drifting into moments of stillness without warning, staring into nothing disconnected from the physical world for a few seconds, only to suddenly return with a complete realization that seems to arrive fully formed from somewhere beyond your conscious mind. These moments can feel strange at first, because modern life conditions people to trust logic more than instinct. People are taught to dismiss intuition unless it can be measured or explained. But under the Pisces moon, the subconscious becomes louder than the analytical mind. Information stops arriving through step-by-step reasoning and instead comes through emotion, imagery, sensation, and energetic recognition. This is why the Pisces moon is often experienced like becoming an emotional antenna. You are no longer simply observing the emotional atmosphere around you. You are absorbing it directly into your nervous system. Every hidden frustration in a room, every unspoken fear, every layer of tension beneath conversations begins registering internally whether you want it to or not. This is the psychic sponge effect, and it can become overwhelming for people who do not understand what is happening. They begin carrying emotions that were never theirs to begin with. They mistake collective anxiety for personal fear. They absorb sadness from others and think something is wrong with them. But the deeper truth behind this heightened sensitivity is that it is not punishment. It is perception, expanding beyond ordinary limitations. And once you stop fearing that sensitivity, it transforms into one of the greatest advantages you can possess. Because when you can sense emotional undercurrents before events unfold externally, you stop making decisions blindly. You begin recognizing truth before evidence appears. You trust certain instincts without needing endless external confirmation, because part of you understands that your intuition is processing information long before your conscious mind catches up. This is why practices connected to intuition become extraordinarily amplified under the Pisces moon. Meditation becomes deeper. Tarot readings become startlingly accurate. Pendulum work, scrying, dream interpretation, even moments of silent reflection suddenly carry unusual intensity because the mental interference that normally blocks intuitive clarity temporarily weakens. The logical mind that constantly demands proof softens its grip. The ego stops interrupting every intuitive signal with skepticism and fear. For a brief period, your awareness becomes more direct, more fluid, more connected to something far larger than ordinary thought patterns. And what makes this activation on Monday, May 11th, especially important is that it does not close once the moon moves on. It opens an energetic channel that continues operating through the rest of the month. The downloads you receive during this window are not random emotional noise. They are instructions, blueprints, signals guiding you toward the three manifestations already attempting to enter your life. The first of these manifestations begins the moment the Pisces moon unlocks your intuitive perception on May 11th. During the next 6 days, the ideas, realizations, impulses, dreams, and sudden moments of knowing that arrive are laying the foundation for something tangible and deeply stabilizing. This first dream is not abstract. It is rooted in physical reality. It connects to your body, your home, your finances, your emotional safety, and your sense of stability in the material world. Many people have spent months feeling trapped in uncertainty, financially or emotionally, without fully admitting how exhausted they are. Some have quietly questioned whether they will ever feel secure again. Others have tried forcing career paths that no longer align with who they are becoming. Some have remained in relationships that look stable externally, while internally feeling emotionally disconnected and unsupported. The Taurus energy arriving on May 16th begins confronting all of this directly. Because on May 16th, the new moon in Taurus arrives, creating one of the strongest manifestation windows for long-term physical results. Taurus does not deal in fantasy. Taurus governs what lasts, what grows slowly, what becomes real enough to touch, hold, build, and sustain. But there is an important detail most people overlook. The Taurus new moon only anchors what the Pisces moon first revealed. In other words, the vision comes before the construction. The intuitive realization arrives before the physical manifestation. The Pisces moon on May 11th delivers the emotional and spiritual blueprint. Then, 6 days later, the Taurus new moon becomes the moment where that invisible vision begins taking form in the real world. This is why the coming days matter so much. The intuitive hits you receive now are preparing you for choices that will directly shape your physical future. This manifestation may appear as a career opportunity that finally changes your financial direction after a long season of instability. It may appear as a relationship that no longer feels fragile or uncertain, but grounded and emotionally secure. It may arrive through the decision to invest in your future, commit to your health, create a home environment that truly supports your nervous system, or finally begin building the life you have secretly imagined but never fully believed was possible for you. What makes this even more emotionally intense is another major alignment unfolding on May 16th, just before the Taurus new moon peaks. Mars, the planet connected to action, courage, instinct, and forward movement, joins with Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries. This conjunction becomes deeply personal because Chiron represents the ancient wound many people quietly carry around: worthiness, rejection, inadequacy, and fear of failure. For years, countless people have sabotaged opportunities, not because they lacked talent, but because part of them believed success belonged to someone else. They delayed action because they feared being exposed as not ready enough, not intelligent enough, not deserving enough. They talked themselves out of dreams before life ever had the chance to test them. That is the wound this alignment begins exposing and healing simultaneously. Mars in Aries does not ask for permission. It pushes forward. Chiron forces you to confront the pain that made you doubt yourself in the first place. Together, they create a breakthrough moment where fear and courage collide directly. And this is why the first manifestation becomes possible. Not simply because the universe suddenly delivers something magical from nowhere, but because for the first time in a long time, you stop apologizing for what your soul actually wants. You stop shrinking your desires to fit your insecurities. You stop delaying your future because of old emotional wounds that were never meant to define you forever. Something cracks open under this alignment. The version of you that constantly questioned your worth begins collapsing. And once that happens, the foundation you've been searching for finally has room to arrive. The next phase of this activation becomes even more powerful because the breakthrough coming afterward will completely alter the way you understand your reality. If the first manifestation was designed to stabilize your external world, then what arrives next is far more disruptive because it targets the prison inside your own mind. And this is where the energy of the month becomes impossible to ignore. The shift approaching after May 16th is not soft, gradual, or comfortable. It does not unfold slowly over years while you gently adjust to new perspectives. This is the kind of awakening that strikes like electricity through your nervous system. A moment so sharp and undeniable that afterward you realize you can never see yourself or your life the same way again. Something begins accelerating on May 17th that completely changes the direction of your consciousness. Mercury, the planet connected to thought, perception, communication, and mental processing, moves into Gemini, the sign it rules naturally. This alone already increases mental speed, curiosity, awareness, and intellectual stimulation. But the real intensity begins the moment Mercury collides with Uranus. Uranus is not a subtle planet. Uranus disrupts, awakens, destabilizes, liberates, and breaks apart stagnant systems that have outlived their purpose. It rules sudden revelations, revolutionary thinking, breakthroughs, rebellion, and the type of truth that arrives so suddenly it fractures your old understanding instantly. And what makes this conjunction extraordinarily powerful is that Uranus only recently entered Gemini in late April, beginning an entirely new 7-year cycle connected to communication, information, technology, learning, and the evolution of collective consciousness itself. Humanity is entering a completely different mental era under this transit, and the conjunction on May 17th acts like the first electrical surge announcing its arrival. When Mercury joins Uranus at the very first degree of Gemini, it creates a level of mental activation that bypasses ordinary reasoning completely. It feels less like thinking and more like remembering something your soul already knew, but your conscious mind had forgotten. This is the second dream, the breakthrough that tears apart confusion and replaces it with startling clarity. The answer you have been desperately chasing for months suddenly appears fully formed. Problems that once felt impossibly complicated begin unraveling effortlessly in your mind. Situations that kept you trapped in overthinking suddenly become obvious. The belief systems that kept you emotionally stuck collapse almost instantly because you finally see them for what they truly were: inherited fears, outdated narratives, and limitations you unconsciously accepted as reality. What makes Mercury-Uranus transits feel so intense psychologically is that the information arrives all at once. You are not slowly analyzing your way toward understanding. The realization hits like a flash of lightning. You could be standing in the kitchen, driving alone at night, sitting in silence before sleep, or walking through an ordinary moment when suddenly everything rearranges internally. A complete understanding floods your awareness so quickly, it almost feels supernatural. People often describe these moments as downloads because they do not feel self-generated. The insight arrives from somewhere deeper, faster, and more expansive than ordinary thought. And the reason this becomes even more significant is because the mental awakening unfolding now is directly connected to the psychic doorway that first opened under the Pisces Moon on May 11th. On May 19th, Mercury forms a perfect angle with Neptune in Aries, and this reconnects the entire energetic sequence back to the original activation point. Neptune rules Pisces, intuition, dreams, spiritual perception, and the unseen dimensions beneath physical reality. So the brilliant realizations arriving through Mercury and Uranus are not merely intellectual breakthroughs. They are spiritually guided insights moving through your mind with extraordinary precision. This is why the realizations arriving during this period feel emotionally charged rather than purely logical. They carry a strange certainty that bypasses doubt. Deep down, you recognize the truth instantly before your analytical mind even catches up. And this second manifestation has the power to completely redirect the trajectory of your life, because it changes the way you perceive yourself and your future. For some people, this arrives through a sudden understanding about their career path. They realize they have been building a life around expectations that were never truly theirs. They recognize that the path they forced themselves to follow no longer aligns with the person they are becoming. For others, the breakthrough arrives through relationships. Suddenly, they can see emotional dynamics that were previously hidden by denial, attachment, or fear. The illusion breaks. The truth becomes impossible to avoid. Some people will experience this through creative awakening. Ideas begin arriving so rapidly and vividly that they feel compelled to create something entirely new. A vision appears fully developed in their mind, demanding expression in the physical world. And what makes this so emotionally overwhelming is that many people have secretly sensed these truths for a long time. The intuition was already there beneath the surface, but now The universe removes the final layer of resistance, preventing conscious recognition. By May 22nd, the transformation deepens even further when the Sun itself merges with Uranus. This is where the awakening stops being only mental and becomes personal identity reconstruction. You no longer simply think differently. You begin seeing yourself differently. The invisible cage you adapted to for years suddenly becomes obvious. The fears you normalized no longer make sense. The version of yourself built around survival, people-pleasing, fear of judgment, or emotional limitation begins falling apart rapidly. This can feel destabilizing at first because identity shifts are rarely comfortable. Part of you may feel exhilarated, while another part feels terrified because freedom always requires the death of something familiar. But once you experience this level of internal liberation, there is no returning to the smaller version of yourself that existed before. Once your mind expands beyond old limitations, the old reality can no longer fully contain you. And all of this momentum, every psychic signal, every emotional activation, every intuitive download, every mental breakthrough has been building toward one final culmination point at the end of the month. This is why the strange flashes of intuition you have experienced recently were never random. They were preparation. The universe has been slowly training you to trust your own inner knowing because everything converges on May 31st beneath the rare Sagittarius blue moon. A second full moon within the same month already carries unusual energetic weight. But a blue moon in Sagittarius amplifies expansion, truth, destiny, faith, and philosophical awakening to an entirely different level. This is not an ordinary full moon. It feels like a cosmic verdict. A moment where the universe finally confirms that the instincts, risks, visions, and emotional truths you carried internally were real all along. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the same planet that initiated this entire sequence back on May 11th through its friction with the North Node. This is why the entire month feels interconnected. None of these events stand alone. The Pisces Moon awakened your psychic perception. The Taurus energy anchored your physical foundation. Mercury and Uranus shattered your mental limitations. And now the Sagittarius blue moon expands your understanding of who you truly are and what your life was always trying to become. This third manifestation becomes the confirmation point, the moment where reality itself reflects back the truth you sensed internally, even while other people doubted you. It may arrive through an opportunity that validates the terrifying risk you chose to take earlier in the month. It may appear through recognition, success, or external proof that you were not imagining your path after all. It may arrive through a philosophical awakening so profound that your purpose suddenly becomes undeniable with absolute clarity. And this is where the energy changes completely. Earlier in the month, the question was whether you could trust your intuition enough to move forward. But under the Sagittarius blue moon, that question disappears entirely. Because once the confirmations begin arriving, fear starts losing its power. The question no longer becomes, what if this fails? The question becomes, how much larger your life is allowed to grow, now that you finally understand what you are truly capable of becoming. There is something you need to understand before this Sagittarius blue moon reaches its peak, and almost nobody is talking about it. Expansion without awareness can become dangerous. Sagittarius energy does not move cautiously. It stretches toward the farthest possible horizon without hesitation, without restraint, without asking permission first. This final manifestation is the moment where you stop shrinking yourself to fit smaller realities and finally allow yourself to fully occupy the life your intuition has been trying to lead you toward since May 11th. This is the dream where you stop negotiating with fear. The dream where you stop apologizing for wanting more, expecting more, becoming more. But there is a hidden challenge woven into this entire activation, and if you are not careful, it can pull you completely off course. The heightened psychic sensitivity awakened during the Pisces moon was never meant to leave you emotionally exposed. Yet that is exactly what happens to people who do not know how to protect their energy. From May 11th, all the way through the Sagittarius blue moon on May 31st, your emotional body becomes extraordinarily receptive. You are not only processing your own feelings anymore, you are unconsciously absorbing emotional frequencies from the collective around you. That sudden heaviness that appears for no reason, it may not belong to you at all. The anxiety that enters your chest the moment you walk into crowded environments may be your nervous system reacting to emotional overload rather than personal fear. Even random waves of sadness that seem to arrive out of nowhere can be collective emotional residue moving through you. Because under Pisces energy, the boundaries between self and surrounding energy become extremely thin. Most people make the same mistake during periods like this. They feel overwhelmed internally, and instead of creating silence and space to process what they are feeling, they immediately try to escape themselves. They flood their minds with endless scrolling, constant noise, distractions, overstimulation, social obligations, entertainment, anything that prevents them from sitting alone with their own inner world. But avoidance during this transit becomes spiritually expensive because the messages trying to reach you cannot fully break through when your awareness is buried beneath constant distraction. Solitude under the Pisces moon is not punishment, it is restoration. Stepping away from noise is not isolation, it is energetic maintenance. You need moments alone during this period because silence allows you to separate your own emotional truth from everything you have unconsciously absorbed from others. And this becomes especially important when it comes to escapism. Pisces energy naturally increases the desire to numb discomfort, blur reality, or emotionally drift away from intensity. But substances, emotional avoidance, and overstimulation weaken the very channel the universe is trying to open for you. The dreams, intuitive signals, emotional realizations, and manifestations connected to this cycle require presence. They require you to stay conscious enough to receive them fully. This is the paradox hidden inside Pisces energy. You must remain emotionally open enough to receive intuitive information while also remaining grounded enough not to drown inside emotional overload. Sensitivity becomes a gift only when boundaries exist alongside it, and this is why the coming weeks require intentional awareness. The universe is not only opening doors for you, it is testing whether you are emotionally prepared to walk through them consciously. So the question becomes, how do you actually work with this energy instead of allowing it to overwhelm you? The first step begins specifically on Monday, May 11th. Create space for silence. This is not the day to bury yourself inside chaotic environments or force yourself into constant social interaction. This is the day you intentionally step inward. Sit alone. Journal what arises emotionally. Meditate. Walk slowly through nature without distraction. Listen carefully to what surfaces inside your thoughts, dreams, instincts, and emotional reactions, because the intuitive impressions arriving during this window are not random imagination. They are directional signals attempting to guide you toward your next phase of growth. Write them down immediately, because many of the realizations arriving under Pisces energy disappear quickly if ignored. Second, trust the language of your body during this period. Your nervous system becomes highly responsive under these transits. If exhaustion suddenly appears, your body may be asking for recovery rather than productivity. If emotions rise unexpectedly, allow them to move through you instead of suppressing them. If certain people, environments, or commitments suddenly feel draining, listen to that reaction carefully. Your emotional state is communicating information faster than your logical mind can process it. Third, deepen your spiritual or intuitive practices while the veil remains thin. Meditation, tarot, pendulum work, dream interpretation, moments of prayer or stillness, all become amplified now because your intuitive channel is unusually active. This is not the time to dismiss your instincts simply because they cannot yet be explained rationally. Some of the clearest answers arrive emotionally before they arrive logically. Fourth, understand that manifestation under the sun. Jupiter sextile on May 11th requires participation. The universe may open doors, but you still must choose to walk through them. When intuitive insights arrive about the 3 manifestations unfolding this month, do not sit passively waiting for reality to rearrange itself magically. Act on what you are shown. Move toward the opportunity. Speak the truth you have been avoiding. Take the first step even before the full outcome becomes visible. Expansion responds to movement. And finally, protect your energy intentionally each day. Begin your mornings with the awareness that not every emotion entering your body belongs to you. Visualize emotional boundaries around yourself. Not walls that isolate you from connection, but filters that allow guidance to enter while preventing chaos from overwhelming your nervous system. Discernment becomes essential during this activation because emotional clarity determines whether you manifest consciously or simply become lost inside collective noise. The truth is, the quiet inner voice you have been trying to ignore is not going to stay quiet much longer. That subtle pull you have felt for weeks, maybe even months, is about to become impossible to dismiss. The Pisces Moon on May 11th does not create intuition where none existed before. It amplifies the deeper knowing already living inside you. You have sensed the shift approaching long before external confirmation arrived. You have felt the strange tension between your current reality and the larger future attempting to emerge through you. That feeling is not irrational fear. It is not anxiety. It is recognition. Your soul already understands that something is changing permanently. And the 3 manifestations unfolding before the end of May are not random fantasies disconnected from reality. They are the result of your consciousness evolving, your intuition sharpening, and your willingness to trust inner truth even before external evidence appears. This entire month becomes a dividing line between people who continue dismissing their inner guidance and those who finally choose to trust it. May 11th initiates the awakening. The Taurus new moon on May 16th anchors the vision into physical life. The Mercury-Uranus conjunction on May 17th destroys mental limitations and reveals a new path forward. And the Sagittarius blue moon on May 31st becomes the moment of confirmation where everything finally aligns into undeniable truth. The doorway is already open. The energetic current has already begun moving. The manifestations are already unfolding beneath the surface, whether you fully see them yet or not. The only thing left unresolved is whether you are finally willing to receive the future your intuition has been trying to prepare you for all along.